Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
Tucker Pullman, 2 points last game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast. I think people just hear that shirtless part. I just keep thinking to myself, that wasn't for everyone.
My thing is is Chris at the end, Sleepy Chris.
That was a good time.
Yeah, that was a great time. And they're potting right now, actually, right?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so their thing is always Sundays at 8:15.
Oh, this is gonna be awkward
when they go.
Oh, wow. This will be awkward. So we really got to capture the audience in the next 15 minutes or so. We really got to establish ourselves. Welcome to the PP1 Podcast, as the intro told us. I'm Ryan. My friend over to my screen right is Ted. We are here to entertain you. We are here to make your evening grand. We're going to talk about some Canucks hockey. We're going to talk about the playoffs. We're going to talk about some stuff that maybe happened in the 90s that Ted teased me right before we went live. I almost have my gazebo built. I built an outdoor patio set this week.
Gazebo, baseball, NFL draft.
Oh my goodness.
There's a bunch going on.
That was like till Thursday. And then Friday happened and we dummied a team with our Hops team. That was a lot of fun. I pitched what I saw as a gem. Others may say as trash. But that's okay. That's okay. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. Yeah, doing good. It was a quiet weekend. We took the kids and the pup to the dog park and stuff for a rip around, and it was hot out, man. It's like 18 degrees. Could have been
great.
tarps off weather. Yeah, it was good.
I might have like a burn or a pre-burn going on. I'm a little more tan than normal.
A pre-burn.
A pre-burn. So it's like what the people that go to the tanning booths kind of get. They get that first layer before they actually go get real sun. So I just got real sun. It's cheaper that way.
Yeah.
I find
you don't even need to take vitamin D.
No, it's straight up. This is
real sun.
In your veins. I wore a hat so that I wouldn't, get sick and have to miss work tomorrow. That'd be a shame. It'd be a real shame. It was a busy week. We had 2 games of baseball. We enjoyed both of them. You need to work on your game a little bit, I find.
I was working on my game. That's why it wasn't that good.
It was. I'm your friend.
I'm trying to learn how to go. I'm trying to learn how to go Oppo right now.
Yeah, it's not pretty. I'm not gonna lie. It's as a teammate, as a friend, as a teammate. It's not pretty. We like the old.
We can't tell bang out inside the park home runs like you can.
Well, yeah, I may pay for that one day. We'll see. That's the thing with inside the park home runs. You have to run the entire time. There's no letting up. I thought I did a pretty good job of that. We also played a team that their third baseman couldn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'm working on stuff because we're already like 20 runs up on a team.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I just, when you know someone the way I know you, the way you play, yeah, I'm used to a certain level of quality, I think, and I don't think I was earning or getting that given to me. Also, Monday night you offered me a beer and you didn't give me the beer.
Well, it's because I literally came back and you were holding a beer.
That's besides the point. You said, "Do you want a beer?" I said, "Yes." So
I drank it. Yeah, that's what happens.
Okay, that's fair.
I'll get you on the next one.
Okay, that's fair.
We had the rare Ryan Ted pitcher catcher combo working. That was pretty fun.
We got a good thing going. There. I think we need to keep that going. It's possible because teammates don't exactly show up all the time. So
yeah, there's a requirement.
It's always nice when you have a full team instead of, hey, the umpire goes, hey, so game starts in 5 minutes. Where's the rest of your team? Oh, they're coming. They need to come because they have the bats and all of our balls and equipment. So yeah, I'm really banking that they're going to be.
Well, half the team was in Vegas for a bachelor party, so that was a factor.
Oh, okay. That was Dave's bachelor party, I think, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Man, I saw him driving around like a Lambo today, I think. Not a bad day. Not a bad day. If you're in Vegas and you're driving around a Lamborghini on a racetrack, that's a better day than most, I think. But yeah, definitely better than the Vancouver Canucks. But before we get to the Vancouver Canucks, first and foremost, we are also brought to you not only on the Dean Blundell Network, we are partnered with Move Health and Wellness. They're great. I saw Kaylee this week. I did say pizza for the first time, and I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. There was a moment that I no longer could stay within myself, and she made me tap. But that was okay. You know what? I'm a grown-up. I can decide when pain is too much. And we do thank Move Health and Wellness for being a partner of the show. Ted, you teased something before we started here, something 90s-esque. Can you?
Oh, yeah.
What's this about? I mean, I love the 90s.
Yeah, the actor that plays Red off of that 70s show.
Oh, no.
Just tweeted a picture of the script for that 90s show.
Oh, man.
So everybody knows that 80s show sucked.
Yeah, it was awful.
It was terrible. But what they've confirmed is that Red and Kitty will be back as mainstays on that 90s show.
Really?
As grandparents.
I was going to say, how do they parlay that?
Yeah, that 90s show is going to be everyone's kids or some of their kids. And every significant cast member who's not a bad and awful person will be back to make cameos in the new series. So you're going to see
everybody at one, basically.
You're going to see, yeah, everybody's going to be there.
Huh.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Well, I mean, it might not be great. It might suck because that 80s show sucked. But I think I have more hope for this one based on who's been rumored, not rumored, confirmed to come back for cameo appearances and stuff like that. So it should be, should be fun.
Decades are funny. And I know we're quite biased with the 90s. I mean, you're a couple years older than me, not much, but I mean, would you say you were more of an 80s kid or more of a 90s kid? Because you're right on the cusp of both.
I'm both. I remember the 80s well as a little kid.
Yeah.
But I remember the 90s too, like growing up in the 90s, basically.
Yeah. That's a tough one. Because I remember the 80s, like Ninja Turtles started in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. Ninja Turtles, Big League Chew.
Yeah. So it's kind of tough. We lived through both. Oh, yeah. So
yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. I'm excited for that. Wow. I thought
should be good.
I wasn't sure what we were getting into, but I really do love that. The Canucks, they're done. They did not make the playoffs.
How many total points out now of the playoffs was it? Do we know?
It was like 2, I think.
2 points.
So they finished 40, 30, and 12, which is pretty impressive considering they didn't make it. That's a pretty impressive.
Considering the start of the season, especially.
Yeah, I mean, they were playing playoff hockey essentially since Bruce Boudreau got there. And they were a pretty exciting team to watch. Yeah, they had a bit of a funk in the middle of that. Overall, though, like any good team would, they played some pretty good hockey. It wasn't necessarily always the best, but they had a few good runs in there. Podkolzin looked absolutely amazing. Bo Horvat seemed to have found himself there. Pettersson looked otherworldly once again. Brock Besser even had himself a good second half. Quinn Hughes established himself as, again, the best Canucks defenseman of all time. Everyone seemed to have taken a second step after the change of the guard, if you will.
The highest scoring single season total for a Canucks defenseman ever.
Yeah, he's okay. He's all right. And
he gets the job done. Yeah.
Watching the last couple games, and I didn't catch all of it. I know you were quite busy. Like, this was a crazy week. But just watching bits and pieces of these games, I think I saw like the second and third period and overtime of the last 2. And just watching Quinn Hughes and just the things he doesn't have to score to be exciting. And just the way he cuts or the way he swivels or the way he starts a play or there's just so many things to look forward to every single time he's got the puck. And I remember when we had that feeling about Pettersson, like every time he had the puck when he first got here, and it was just, oh, what is he going to do? And then Quinn Hughes did that, and it was just like that honeymoon excitement. But now Hughes has been here for a couple of years, and he's still doing the things that are beyond exciting.
Oh yeah, he's just smooth, man. Like what else can you ask for? I mean, he's not a burner, but he's a very, very, very good skater. But we would call him an elite skater, really. Like,
oh yeah,
there's that edge work, what he can do, the way he sort of like head and hip fakes people, to add on the fact of this like extreme high end vision. Just really complements having guys like JT Miller and Elias Pettersson on this squad who think the game at a similar level.
Totally.
So, the one thing that I was worried about, that I was super critical about when Quinn joined the Canucks, when he was playing for like the men's U.S. national team as an underager, essentially. He wasn't even drafted yet. Was his shot. I thought the guy had a cream puff shot, and all he did was improve his shot to the point where it's a very adequate. He's a very adequate shooter now. He's not going to blow the puck by people, but he knows where to put the puck. He knows how to get it on net. And I think I take that for granted sometimes. Like maybe a super hard shot is just as good as a shot that someone can actually thread the needle and find a way to put it on net, right? Like it's just as effective. I mean, he's got now seasons of 8, 3, and 8 goals after the shortened 2021 season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's continuing to prove that he can score goals too. He's still a threat. He quarterbacks the power play from the point, and sometimes even like that high half wall. But then as soon as it breaks out, he's not afraid to just pick through and drive to the middle of the ice and then pound it on net either, right? So yeah, I think he's just become such a multi-dimensional player that even his defensive game is picked up as a result. I mean, it seems like we always have the puck when he's on the ice.
Okay,
like,
so you didn't see the game on Friday, right? The Oilers game?
No, I missed the last game.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I should have saved this video.
Was it Gas City or what? I didn't.
Well, so they're in overtime, and I think it was overtime. And anyway, the Canucks had their chance, and it starts going up the other way. I think Hughes lost his stick. It broke, and he was trying to grab a stick. I'm pretty sure it was overtime. Anyway, he's coming back. It's a 2-on-1, and he's coming back. First, he's not hustling, but he's like he'll be in the play. And so he's like facing the 2-on-1, and he freaking Kirk McLean 2-pad stack goes off his leg into the crowd, stoppage of play. It was like
the old K-Tel Patty Stacker.
You couldn't believe it. Just watching it, and you're laughing, you're thinking, I don't know how he pulled that off, like how that actually happened, because they should have gotten it through. And he just kind of slid and like stacked the pads. And it was the weirdest thing. And yet it was like so Quinn Hughes. Like it was one of those things you're like, of course, that's one of the last things you're going to remember this season. Just something totally random like that.
Just an absolute beauty.
It was an absolute beauty. It was so like you're laughing. And at the same time, you're thinking like that's on a Quinn Hughes highlight reel. Just because it was so like it should have been a goal for sure. A 2-on-1. I mean, they didn't have Draisaitl or McDavid, but I mean, a 2-on-1 that late, it's going to be over.
I just feel like he can do anything out there. Like anything. Like I hate saying this. I feel like anything is possible when he's out there,
which is great.
Yeah.
Which is like we're finally getting these players again. I mean, as great as the Sedins were, and we will always respect what they've done, or as great as Burroughs or Naslund or Bertuzzi, we've had some pretty impressive players. We also haven't had what we have, like a Pettersson and a Hughes. We haven't had that whatever that is. And again,
we haven't had that since the Twins, and we didn't even get it with the Twins for like 4 years.
Yeah, and it really didn't peak for probably 6. So we're already seeing some of those peak things, and it's not even a peak. This is what you're getting right now, and it's going to get better than that. So
yeah, we're talking about age 22-year-old player,
just wild,
putting up 68 points, tying Elias Pettersson for second in team scoring. Pettersson, another career year, 68 points. I mean, if you would have told me that there was so much up and down with his season and inconsistency early on that I wouldn't have thought this was going to be a career where it gets to 31 goals. Sorry, 32 goals, 31 goals.
I'll have to look.
I believe he ties JT Miller for the team lead in scoring. So now you have 3 30-goal scorers. First time in forever that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got to be the first time since
32. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's got to be the first time since what 2012, maybe I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
So it was him, Bo, and Miller all
Yeah.
had 32, and 31. So
Yeah.
uh,
And Guess were the
you
tidy 23.
yeah, you had Brock with 23. You had Connor Garland almost get there with 19. Just some really, really fun seasons from some players on this squad. And then you have some developing guys, and you have some teams of players on this squad that you think are going to get to 20 real quick here in the next couple of years.
Oh, it's coming.
Especially somebody like Podkolzin, and you know that you're not going to be able to continue to keep a guy like Nils Höglander down. So lots of hope for this team.
So you had mentioned, the elephant in the room is JT Miller. So he finishes at 99 points. Like, they did everything in their power to get him number 100, which in itself is beyond amazing considering this team, right? Like 99 points is pretty impressive on its own. We'll call it 100 points, but you know what I mean? It's impressive to get to 100 points in this version of the NHL, this iteration of it. And the fact that he had 99 points and his team missed the playoffs. Now, get this. He's the only player in the top 15 in scoring that didn't make the postseason.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
On a squad with 3 30-goal scorers.
Like, stats are crazy. And we can go back to it. I'm not an eye test or whatever, but like, that's wild, right? The only player that isn't in the playoffs that was in the top 15 in scoring. Now, once you get to the top 16, it gets really close with, I think, Patrick Kane and another guy. But unbelievable.
Just missed, though. Just missed.
You look at all the names that are in there, and it's a pretty impressive list this year. A bunch of guys over 100 points, which is great. I think the league needs that to happen to get back to all those 100-point guys and not, guys peaking out at like 95, and that's considered a good season. So, or 102, and you're thinking, oh, wow, what an Art Ross season. Now it's, 120, 130. That's the NHL that I think everybody wants back.
Yeah. So for like a bit of a recap, obviously it was, some big seasons, especially big back halves from guys like Miller, Pettersson, Hughes, a big goal scoring season from Bo Skorvat.
Yeah.
We've continued to see his progression as a goal scoring center and not a playmaking center. I mean, he only tops out at like 21 assists. So he's obviously taking matters into his own hands when he's out there. An interesting player in Connor Garland. We got him for 77 games this year. He was fun to watch. There was there's a nice player there for sure. Brock, some inconsistencies, but obviously the skill level is there. So future serve a little bit uncertain for Besser.
Talk about your guy though.
Which one?
Pods.
Just
14
like
goals, 12 assists. Like, what a season.
Just a ridiculous amount of growth. And I'll go back to preseason when I mentioned a favorable comparison to Bo Horvat in his rookie season. And it was right there. Mm-hmm. I think 2-3 point spread.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to take that one. I'll put that one in my back pocket. Just so much love for that guy. Super excited. I could very well see that being my next Canucks jersey. Tanner Pearson, as advertised, definitely could have used him down the stretch. That body on the wall for sure. I think they suffered from depth a lot.
They did
when it really started to hurt them. And I think had this squad had all their tools, all their pieces down the stretch, I think they would have been able to make a push and probably even get in. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, a steady season at 29 points, but he's definitely not the player that he was. He's a shadow of him former self. And it's not like he was bad. It's just that he's probably not worth the high amount of money that he's being paid.
Yeah.
You get 22 points out of Alex Chason. We've talked many times about the value for that one. Again, filled in down the stretch for when we needed him. Found money there on a PTO contract. So good for him. He's going to have to get another one, I bet, heading into next year.
You know what, though? Like, the kind of season he had, he's already had one of those he had one with Edmonton. He had one with Vancouver. You could go probably back a little bit further than that. Does he actually get a PTO, or do you think he's shown enough after these past couple seasons that, hey, like, I am as advertised? He's not going to get big bucks, clearly. But, I mean, you could go and sign a guy like that you could probably get him at around $2 million, maybe $3 million tops. And somebody's looking for a guy like that, like, again, a power play specialist.
Yeah, you can't pay $3 million for Alex Chason, but I know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Well, somebody might, but
somebody might.
You can get him for in that, maybe he peaks out at $2, right?
Yeah,
Like he's one of those
I
guys
think
that someone can get. Like
I think he's. Go ahead.
I was just gonna like in the Tyler Mott territory, but a different, like not the same version, but that kind of value.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I mean?
mean, there's a chance that he could probably go find a contract for something somewhere, and somebody might pay 1.5 or something like that. But he's kind of a hired gun at this point, right? I mean, teams look down their list, they see that they need PP2 help. They need a player who's like somewhat responsible, and he's a big body. And then Alex Jason comes to mind. He's just a pro, right?
He goes to Washington, I bet, next year.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him putting up points on a Washington squad for sure,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Um, so we'll see. I don't know if he's a Canuck next year.
I don't think so.
But that's okay. Nothing. They didn't really spend anything on it. They never lost anything by having him. So
No, he has found money for sure.
found money. Nils Höglander, a bit of a disappointing season on the whole. A little bit inconsistent. Suffers from the sophomore slump. So it'll be lots to look forward to for him next year. Obviously, going to have a full summer to train and put in work and come back a little bit stronger and a little bit better with a bigger understanding of what he needs to do season to season.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Myers. I guess it was a bit of a reset for him this year because he looked much better. I think he's probably looked the best that he's looked as a Canuck defenseman this year.
Yeah, still wasn't great,
but still wasn't great. I mean, 18 points, a single goal, a single goal, and you're not the defensive stalwart on this squad, and you could only muster up 18 points from a guy that's put up some decent points before. So again, I don't hate Tyler Myers. He's just making too much money. So
that's
anybody who's gonna come after me for hating on Tyler Myers, it's only because of how much money he's making. And then if you pair him with Oliver Ekman-Larsson and the amount of dough that's being spent on like 40 points there, that's a little scary.
So oh, sorry. You still got some guys in there. You've got
a couple on this list. Yeah. So Luke Shen, obviously that was a fun guy to watch all season. He's kind of really reinvented himself. So the Canucks are going to keep him around, even though they probably could have got something for him at the deadline. Hunt again found money, puts up 17 points, which is funny because that's one less point than Tyler Myers.
Points?
Yeah, a little surprised by that. So that's a good depth defenseman. Really impressed this year with Juho Lammikko. I know he was a bit of a throw in on this deal when we got him in the trade, but I mean, I could see him playing on the fourth line for the next little while here. And if it's at center, fine. If it's at wing, even better. A decent season for Matthew Highmore. Jason Dickinson, absolute bust this year. I'm really hoping that he can turn his season around in the offseason and come back as a better player because he's so far in the dumps with this squad here that they can't even trade him. Kyle Burroughs, another found money guy. Brad Richardson, we'll see if he plays another year. Could be a fourth line option. Tucker Pullman,
my man,
your man. 3 points. 3 points from Tucker Pullman. Somehow finishes as a plus. Looks like a half decent player when you're using him in a very specific role, but again, way too much money. Way too much money. He looks
as good as you stretching for like that inside pitch.
Yeah. Right. It's not, it's a little bit ugly, right? Sometimes it gets the job done, but it's not pretty.
It's their best.
Travis Dermott, I can see the potential there, but they're going to have to figure out exactly what they want to do with him. Either way, it was probably the right player to bring in. And then Madison Bowie somehow gets into some games, plays too. I'm not sure that I noticed him, but whatever. Madison Bowie.
Yeah. And then the obviousness, let's get into goaltenders quickly. And then we've got the big talk coming up.
Yeah.
First and foremost, Jaro Halak. I mean, it was a disappointing season, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. Opportunity maybe wasn't as much there early, but at the same time, when he was pulled in early, he didn't look good. He also didn't have any run support, which doesn't help. But his job is to stop pucks, and he didn't do a very good job of that. Spencer Martin comes in, absolutely lights it up, had a great finish to the season down the stretch here as well. He is the backup next season. He signed a deal, so good for him. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
truly, yeah,
like he earned his contract. Jaro, again, too bad because again, one of the better goaltenders in the last decade and a half in the NHL, and it fell apart. I mean, that happens. Guys can have a season that it just isn't going for them. I don't care how good they've been, and it just falls apart. And unfortunately for him, this was a time that probably could have helped him out. He probably could have helped his team. Like, again, they lose out on 2 to 4 points. 2 of those games, he probably should have helped himself a little bit and kept his team in, and they lose those ones. So he also had some pretty impressive games too. He wasn't a complete write-off, but the main man, like the hero to everyone, Thatcher Demko, another season, his first full all-in season, no COVID, no what. Well, I mean, it was there, but he came in and just absolutely stood on his head. The NHL's taken notice. They've finally truly taken notice. This isn't a bubble Demko. This isn't, oh, I wonder what he's going to be able to do once he gets to the NHL. Thatcher Demko is an elite NHL goaltender. And I think under Bruce Boudreau or whoever that coach is, I believe it will be Bruce, he's going to go into next season, and I think he's going to be one of those guys that if they can figure out their defense, if they can make some moves in the offseason and maybe surprise a few people, and they might have to part off some forwards that we all like to get a better defensive core and to get rid of some guys. I mean, who's to say Thatcher Demko doesn't make a run at a trophy next year? And I know that sounds a little bit wild, but I mean, he has the underlying play to decide that he probably could be that good.
Do you remember the start of the season when they were talking about the Olympics, when the Olympics were still a thing? And they were talking about Thatcher Demko uphill battle to become the third goaltender for Team USA this year.
Right now, he's probably the backup,
if not the starter.
If not the starter, yeah.
Yeah, so you know for sure that he goes to the Olympics if it happens, and he at least gets half the games. The guy was just playing lights out, and then to boot, there's seasons that aren't over for guys like Spencer Martin, Will Lockwood, and Pug Colson are all going to go down to Abbotsford to go play for the baby Canucks too.
And I think Pud Colson's just going to tear it up out
there. I hope so. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see it happen.
Hopefully we get some Jack Rathbone action as well.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to there needs to be some carrots as well for guys that are going to have a big run and hopefully can start next season already on a high note. I think not on a down high note, just a regular high note. That's nice. It's nice that there was a tie in there. Quick break. I'm gonna do a quick thing for Move Health and Wellness. They are, in fact, our partner. As I said, I went and saw Kaylee, my new registered massage therapist. Her mom had heard our show, and she's like, "Yeah, they called you a monster on the show," and I was like, "It's a term of endearment." She finally heard, basically I've invited her on the show, but I had a good chat with her, and she's amazing. She's not going to give you, I don't know, I'm sure you've been to massage therapy and just kind of had the okay once over. They're going to work on some stuff. They'll loosen up some muscles, but nothing crazy. You go in there and you do get better. It wasn't comfortable. I'm not going to lie. I definitely needed some work done, and I did tap out. I said pizza for the first time, but you go to a place like Move Health, and they have quality practitioners. Dr. John's there for chiropractor. They do have counseling as well for your mental health. There are things going on. They also have 2 locations in the Lower Mainland and Surrey, South Surrey. I can't say enough about these guys. They've been a great partner with us. Hopefully we can continue this on even through the playoffs and through the summer. We'll see what's going to happen there. But definitely a quality company to work with. And as I said, they've been packing up. I've been looking at the online calendar for massage, and my next one, I'm booking at least a month out. So they are packing up. They definitely need more people, which is great. That means things are going really, really well out here. Nothing but good things to say about them. They're going to get you right. And I felt great from my Friday ball game. I was happy I went on Wednesday. Kaylee helped out a lot. And again, nothing but good things to say. They're going to make sure that you're taken care of. When's the next time you're going?
I have Ava and I booked in the next, I think, 3 weeks here.
Excellent. It's good. I don't know. I really like now that I kind of understand how a lot of the muscles and certain things work. I'm really interested in. I always like the guts of things, whether it's technology or what have you. It's cool to kind of know which parts of your body, if you're taking care of this, how it affects something else in your body or what have you. And when you hear things moving around back there, you know that you're getting fixed. So back to the show. The Canucks. This season is over, as we said. the big things are about to happen. We are going to find out probably sooner than later that the Canucks are probably going to be sticking with Bruce from all the whispers that we hear. Patrick Alvin and Mr. Rutherford are also going to they're going to have their hands full before the draft, I think. This is going to be, we've had the most important season a bunch of times. We're going into this is going to be a defining season, I think, because they have a handful of players that either need to be signed, re-signed, traded, whatever that is. There's a lot of big parts that need to be decided for this team. And I mean, Brock Besser's definitely one. We've talked about ad nauseum about Besser. I'd hate to see him leave. It does sound like they're trying to get him back. Same with JT Miller. Like they have to make some moves this offseason to change the course of where they are still headed until something does change. Like a Tucker Poolman, an OEL. I mean, Tyler Myers.
Tyler Myers.
Like Brandon Sutter, we lost him this season. He had long COVID, and seeing that little interview with Murph.
That was tough, eh?
Oh, man. Just like as a human being, you feel for him. And knowing that he's also a professional athlete, he's got a family. Like, I think he just had another kid this past year. I believe, anyway, is what he was talking about. Like, that's tough, man. Like, it's tough for you and I as normal human beings. And, fit guys, we're fairly healthy, right? And these guys are peak physical shape, and just something that doesn't really matter. This virus has taken over, and, it's cost them a year of his life, essentially, that he's been down and out and just trying to regain like normal life, the normal motions. So that's a tough one because he's a UFA going into next season. So, like, do the Canucks bring him back, like, if he's healthy enough, or is he just on the shelf till something happens? Like, what? Michael Furlan's another guy too.
I think if he's healthy and he's got his fitness, as he explained it, back up to NHL caliber, then I think you bring him back and pencil him in easy peasy as your fourth line center.
Yeah. Why not? And then, I mean, Michael Furlan's another guy too, right? I think the writing is on the wall that's probably a done deal for his career, right?
That's a different thing, yeah.
I know, but again, you're looking at these things, and these are all
they're all decisions that group's going to have to make. You're 100% right.
There's a lot of stuff that has to be decided this year, and you look at. I think the forwards are where the ultimate trade chips are, if that's what's going to happen, for them to bolster, I guess, realistically, the defense. I think the front end is going to be a little bit better than they probably think. You're not going to be top 10 in scoring, but that's okay. If you can not be 31st in the league or 32nd in the league in PK or in the power play, and actually start building those numbers up from the get-go, I think they have a realistic chance of actually not being a contender, but being a tough team to play, and being a team that probably should obviously be making the playoffs next year and doing a little bit of damage. So there's moves to make. Like, what do you think? What do you think is something that is? What do you think has to happen?
First things first, they have to figure out. I mean, whether the action for this or not takes place immediately or at the trade deadline. I think first things first is they need to figure out what their plan is for Brock and JT. Like, I don't think it can be a thing where you like, okay, like, we don't know in the off season, we're not sure what we've got for offers. Let's pencil them in, and then we'll sort of just play it by ear. Okay, the season's going so, like, we're not in a position where we want to be, like, let's just play it by ear. I think you have to have like a plan in place on what you're doing. Like, if we're at X amount of points by X amount of date in the season, they're gone. Or we move them in the off season at the NHL draft. Or he's moving at the trade deadline no matter what, because I think you probably have a pretty good idea now, whether we believe so or not, what you're going to get a guy like JT Miller at. Like, I think their camp has to be very open about what his needs are. And I don't think that's going to change, right? So if it's not a number that you feel comfortable with, then you need to have a plan for moving him right off the bat. It can be, as long as you know what the date is that you're going to move him, like all that stuff needs to be worked out like way ahead of time, I feel like. Because it's just like, I feel like the previous regime sort of just like let things come to them and just figured it out on the fly.
And then they're running out of time.
And then you run out of time. Yeah. So I also think that Quinn needs help.
Yeah.
On the blue line, and I can see more now than ever that OEL is not the guy that's going to give him the help that he needs.
And
He's
helpful, and it shouldn't be Luke Schenn.
It shouldn't have to be Luke Schenn, although Schenn is very, very serviceable in the role that he's currently playing. So it's not the long-term answer, and I think that needs to be solved. And I don't like saying it, but probably the best way to get your hands on a high-end number 2 defenseman is probably by trading a high-end top 6 forward, and that high-end top 6 forward is probably a guy like Brock Besser. I mean, he's probably the odd man out in this situation. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I think that you would definitely like to see a guy like Brock stick around, as long as, again, it's for the right money. I think there's too many guys on this team making the wrong money.
And that's the thing. We're in the reality. We're in the moment that it doesn't matter what happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We are here right now, and all those things are current. You can say whatever you want. They have to be dealt with.
And it does matter, unfortunately, what happened 3 years ago when it came to contract negotiations, because now you can't be like, we're gonna overpay you a little bit because we know you're worth it, and we know that we can eat some bad years in the future, and we know you need you right now, and you know that you earned it. They actually can't afford to do those things now because they've done it with players that don't necessarily deserve it. So they're in a bit of a shit spot, and as a result, it's very likely that a guy like Brock gets put in a shit spot because of it.
I mean, I said this earlier this week to a coworker. Everyone has favorite players. What doesn't matter the sport, right? Like we cheer for
Brock's one of my favorite players.
Yeah, whether it's you're a football fan or a baseball fan or a hockey fan or basketball, whatever, we all have favorite athletes if you're a sports fan. And like that's great. And it's great to have the warm, fuzzy feeling. But there does come a time where something grown up has to happen. And I mean, how do you think Edmonton, and I know, again, this sounds crazy. It shouldn't be, tied in, but I mean, how do you think Edmonton fans felt when Wayne Gretzky got traded? I mean, no, like, again, I'm not comparing Brock Besser, but you know what I mean? Like, how do you think people felt when, I mean, Florida's a bad example, but again, when we traded Roberto Luongo, we knew the writing was on the wall that it had to happen. For me, that still killed me. It was just, I couldn't believe it. Like, there are guys that get traded, or Joe Thornton from Boston. I mean, he made a pretty quick fan base out in Boston. There's so many of these guys that, create this huge love for, via the fan base. But at the same time, something has to happen. These teams have to move on, and there has to be a decision that gets made. And I love Brock Besser. I know I'm so happy that they drafted him, and he's been nothing but good news on this team. However, he is a super valuable trade chip that can get us something that furthers this team to becoming a contender in the next couple of years. And he is one of very few guys that can make that happen. Maybe he's part of a deal where he can offload another contract and we have to throw in a draft pick. Maybe that happens this year where they have to do a bunch of things, but they get something big enough in return that this is the season where we make some big moves. We are going to have some hurt feelings. Everybody's going to be a little upset. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. But you know what? It's about the Stanley Cup. It's not about, oh, I've got this guy's jersey. You know how many jerseys we all own where the guys don't play there anymore? Pretty much every jersey in my closet is of a guy that got traded. Has nothing to do with retirement. They're all traded. I had a Bertuzzi one. He was gone. Willie Mitchell. He was gone. It goes up and down. I had Vernon Wells. That didn't go so well.
Yeah, look at Look at the Blue Jays when they were going on their big run when it was like, Bautista and Encarnacion and Donaldson. I mean, we're talking about a friggin' MVP third baseman here. When did you ever think that Josh Donaldson was going to leave the team?
No.
I mean, probably the better comparison to Josh Donaldson would probably be JT Miller.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and lo and behold,
it happened.
He's off the team, right? I mean,
when he left Oakland, that was a big deal.
That was a crazy thing too, right? So, I mean, stuff happens, right? I mean, and sometimes stuff has to happen, and sometimes your favorite players are casualties as a result. So, I think at the end of the day, there's only 2 players on this team, 3 players. There's only 3 players on this team that I'm not comfortable with seeing go at any point. And those 3 guys are Pedersen, Hughes, and Demko, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And I love JT Miller, but if JT Miller leaving makes this team better, of course you have to show me how it does, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating to get rid of him. But if him being here hurts us more because of the amount of money that he makes, then he has to go.
So you remember
he's got to go.
One more baseball one. Remember Alex Rios? Sorry, I didn't want you to choke there. So, but you remember essentially prime Alex Rios when he was on the Blue Jays, right? There was a deal on the table to get whatchamacallit? Was it Lincecum? Tim Lincecum, the freak.
Mm-hmm.
In going into his prime. This was right before the Giants won the World Series.
I remember this, yeah.
It was a legitimate trade that didn't happen. And you're telling me that Alex Rios was more valuable than a freaking Cy Young absolute MVP pitcher?
Yeah.
You'd be kidding me.
There you go, right?
If you're the Vancouver Canucks, we all love JT Miller. We love Brock Besser. We love Bo Horvat. And who knows with Bo? But I'm sorry, man. It is the Stanley Cup. That is what it is about.
And it's got to be the right deal.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you move him just to move him and then you get shit back. No, not at all. Has to be the right deal. If he stays, has to be the right number. There's 2 sides to the coin here.
Yep. We did have a question from Twitter. You can do some singing. This was from our buddy Joel. What moves would you like to see happen this offseason? Not what would you like to see happen this offseason?
Oh man, I think first off, I have to know what's available in free agency. So I would like them to find a better solution than Tanner Pearson. I believe we need to be upgrade there. The fact that we have Mr. PTO playing on our second unit means that we need power play 2 help.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've cleaned up the backup goaltender situation, so that's not going to be a problem.
That's nice. That solved itself, and it's cheap.
And it's cheap. Yeah, I think it's become very clear that they need, bottom 6 help that can play in the top of the bottom 6. So that's got to be squared away and it's not going to be done in the draft, obviously. So that's got to be squared away in free agency too. And they need to do it in a manner that they're not way, way, way overspending either. So,
can they go after?
Yeah, I think they need to make a space for Jack Rathbone on this team for next year
as like a 5.
And maybe that's your second pairing power play guy too. So that's got to help him. But I think all in all, I think the depth is not nearly as adequate as it should be. So there needs to be a boon of depth players side here. Sheldon Dries was fine. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's completely okay. But I think we need some more reliable players in that spot, obviously. But
I'm looking at the defense, and it's like I've been thinking this for a bit here, and then I just want to throw this into you so you can keep going.
Yeah,
they still need, when you have a number 1 pair, you don't just have like one guy. It's a number 1 pair, and they have OEL and they have Myers again from the previous regime. But if you want to go far, you need a number 1 pair. You can have a pretty solid number 2, but like there's Quinn Hughes. and then there's a bunch of second pairing defensemen or worse.
Or worse, right? The problem with Joel's question is, and I think it's a great question, is the problem with Joel's question is the trades that I see that need to happen are the ones that I don't know how you make happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you remove Tucker Pullman's salary from the roster. I don't know how you move on from a Tyler Myers. Again, I don't hate Tyler Myers. I just don't. He can't make the money that he's making. And same with OEL. I'm fine with those guys being on the roster, but they need to be making like half of what they're making right now.
That's number one defenseman money.
Right, because now there's
both of them.
The problem with those players is, again, it's not the players, it's the money that they make, because there's no room to backfill the spots with the remaining money to complement those players. Those, in a sense, those players are the main piece and the complementing piece all at once, and that's not enough. And if you're going to be a team that only has one pairing, it can't be all Quinn. I mean, look at Anaheim's run, right? It had to be Niedermeyer and Pronger, right? Like one of those guys was on the ice like 90% of the time. And then you were looking like a guy like I don't know, like Kent Huskins or something like that, playing in the third slot. Like,
yeah,
I can't remember who.
Or you look at Liz from Cronwall.
Yeah, right.
You didn't want to have to face either of those guys, but you were going to.
Right. I mean, and Lidstrom was just so good, right?
Yeah.
And then Cronwall was also very good in his own right for a long period of time. So yeah, I guess so. I guess what you need to do is find a way to relieve cap space pressure. And unfortunately, again, that probably brings us back to a guy like Brock Besser and a guy like JT Miller, where the only way to do it is to remove something that other people want.
So let's say, let's go crazy for a second. Let's say both of those guys are gone. Let's say they managed to make. I guess first and foremost, would you say that both of them leaving has to happen? Like if you got it your way, would you say that both of them would need to leave for this team to get better as a whole?
Well, no, right? Because if
you think JT, one or the other,
if JT sticks around at a palatable cap hit for a proper term,
that won't happen.
Then you need him, right? But I think the likelihood of that happening is very, very slim. So in my opinion, I would probably move him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to get shit all over for this, but I'm just thinking about it realistically, not again because I want to move the player, but I'm thinking the position that the Canucks are in. I think you have to move them. And then I also think that you probably can get away with moving a guy like Brock on the flip to get yourself a high-end defenseman. Now, moving both probably means that now you don't have any scoring left up front because now you've moved them away. But my assumption is that if you're moving these players, you're getting something back in the form of roster help, right? The only other guy on this roster I think that you could probably look at moving, and maybe for a decent defenseman, is possibly a guy like Connor Garland and something.
It would be, yeah. I think Connor Garland, as I said, I think because he came in when he did, and I mean, yeah, people like him. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's super exciting. But he hasn't, there's no roots yet. You know what I mean? There's no roots yet for a Connor Garland. So I think you could still, I would hate to see him partnered with OEL again. That would be awful. I mean, just as human beings, it'd be like, all right, I get it.
Having who partner with OEL?
Connor Garland.
Oh, maybe, like paired in a trade, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be just
or like maybe gets crazy. Myers this time. But I think there needs to be some uncomfortable moves that get made this year. And for me, Joel, I think that's what I'd like to see is at least one uncomfortable move where, and I mean, I'm comfortable with whatever they do. If there was an insane deal for Elias Pettersson, as we've said, I mean, you make that deal too, but it better be beyond crazy to make. So
yeah, it's got to be the right deal back, period. It's either got to be the right deal or it's got to be the right term.
Yeah. Because it ain't going to be both. Let's finish strong here. We'll have some stuff to talk about, and we'll decide. Are we going to do maybe? I don't know. The Canucks are going to take a break unless something crazy happens. We could probably take a break next week. We've pushed pretty hard. We've got a lot on the go. We'll let you guys know, but I think we could take a break possibly next week.
I think there's a chance we might be skipping on to some other podcasts for like playoff round 1 stuff.
Oh, it's gonna be a gong show. But speaking of playoffs, let's go through our I don't know, our picks. I don't have a fancy name for it, so Ryan and Ted pick playoff winners.
Fancy bracket.
Let's cash in on some great picks. So first and foremost, let's do the East, and then we'll get through the West. The big one, Florida and the Capitals. That's crazy. Who do you got?
I can't pass on Florida this time. I can't. I think the goaltending is too strong. I'm just the Huberdeau. I think Barkov might be the best two-way player in the league. And that team just seems to do everything right now. And I know that the grade 8 is there and that team knows what they're doing in the playoffs. And I think this one's going to go to 7 games.
And they have Claude Giroux.
Yeah, that guy's also good.
It's a silent X, but I'll pronounce it.
So I'm going to say Florida, but I'm going to say that the team that gets through this one is going to be an absolute handful.
So if Washington gets through, you think they're going to be absolutely tough?
I think they're going to be super tough. Yeah. So, but I will take Florida in this one.
Okay. I think I'm going to take Florida as well. We'll maybe make different picks elsewhere. As good as the Capitals are, they're not the Capitals that won the Stanley Cup. I think there are some rebuilding pieces.
Yeah, Jay Beagle's not there.
Jay Beagle's not there. They got Nick Dowd. That's the same thing.
Not good enough to be a fourth line center in Vancouver.
I don't know if Ovi can carry that team for 7 games in a playoff round. He has been a little bit banged up to end the season. He's riding still on a high. The guy still managed to score 50 goals. He's unbelievable. He's so much fun to watch. Yeah. But this is the playoffs, and I think Florida is out for bear, and I think they take it. Carolina and Boston. Who you got?
I'm going to take Boston in this one.
You would.
Yeah, and I don't like it. And actually Carolina is like one of my favorite teams, but I just think, again, I think this is going to be a really close series. But I think this is Boston's last gas before they fall from playoff relevance. So it's very possible that they win this round and then they're done. And then this team starts to rebuild slowly after this.
Interesting.
But I'm going to take Boston in this one. One more year before Carolina gets it right.
Oh, I'm going to say they get it right in 7 in OT.
Oh, 7 in OT.
Carolina's going to be, they're not going to be a bunch of jerks this year, but I think they're going to be a tough team to play. You know what I mean? I think they're going to be a tough team to play this season in the playoffs. And Boston's not an easy out, but I think they've got it. I think they can agitate them enough. Pittsburgh, New York, that could be fun. You've got stellar goaltending in New York, absolutely bonkers. You've got a New York team that's just absolutely rolling. But I mean, it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're kind of up and down, hey? Like the Penguins just kind of can turn it on and you're thinking, oh my goodness, they're not going to lose again. But I think goaltending is going to be in the playoffs. Goaltending is king. And I've got I think the memory, the ghost of Henrik Lundqvist carries them all the way to the second round, at least.
I am with you on this one. I have Ranger goaltending as the ace, and I don't want to say the T word, but I have Ranger goaltending as the ace card to advance them in the first round here past Pittsburgh. I know obviously what's going on in Pittsburgh. I know what's their firepower wise. I know these guys know how to get it done, but I think that I don't know. I think that this is a better, more quality, better assembled team that's there in New York, and I just really like what they got going on there. I don't see them failing in the first round versus an older, tired Pittsburgh team.
And the matchup everybody's been waiting for. This is what this podcast is based on. The blue versus the blue. Center of the universe versus the center of COVID. We've got the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. This one could be, and I'm going through all the other, this could be the matchup of the first round. And you can take out all the Toronto media and everything out of this for a second. Hockey-wise, that could be an absolute track meet. I still have to think. You know what? I'm going to take Toronto.
Wow.
I think they figure it out. I don't think they have the goaltending to go all the way, but I think Toronto finally gets their round one win. The city explodes. No one can handle it. Just every single existing major sports network in Canada just loses their minds because the Leafs are winning. They bring back Matt Sundin somehow. I'm not sure. They make it happen. Yeah, come on, Austin Matthews, what a season. Mitch Marner, an absolute show. Johnny T, they have a great team. They do, and I think that they take it to Tampa, and Tampa is going to be no easy out either. But I think they do beat them, and it's not going to be pretty. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, so I too am going with Toronto in this one, and this is weird, and I have this. And not only do I have this hate for Toronto, but I also have this like understanding that when it comes to playoffs times, they just don't show up.
That's true. That happens a lot.
But I even said prior to this that goaltending is going to be the ace in this one, and I think that the best goaltender on the planet is playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning right now. But I also think maybe the best player in the world is playing for Toronto in the form of Austin Matthews. And I just think that in a 7-game series, it might just be him that makes the difference on this thing and absolutely wills this team that is going to do everything in their possible to not get out of this series. He's going to drag them kicking and screaming through this first round. And I think they get by Tampa Bay in this one. I really do. Tampa Bay's been really cold for this last little bit of the stretch of the season. And that concerns me a little bit. So
because the LTIR has been over their heads.
It's over there. Yeah. So I will say that I'm for the first time in like 15 years, I'm going to take Toronto in the first round against the Tampa Bay team. So this could be wrong, but I mean, I can be wrong once out of 15.
If Toronto gets knocked out, though, Mitch Marner for Brock Besser, it's going to happen.
That's the good thing, right? If Toronto gets knocked out and I'm wrong, I'm still happy.
Yeah, everybody wins. Everybody wins. There's.
It's not even that I'm happy. I will just laugh because it's funny to me.
Yeah. Oh, rats. Or, well, I mean, I don't know how it works out, but could they? I guess they can't play Boston though. Hey, they'd have to. I'm just looking at the bracket. I think they'd have to play Boston in the conference finals, and oh baby, wouldn't that be amazing? Let's get to
Boston.
West.
Would go to Florida, and then New York would go to.
Oh, that'd be nasty. Minnesota, St. Louis. I'm gonna go Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes.
Yeah, I have Minnesota in this one too.
Fiala, they got Dumba, they
just got a bunch of guys that don't care, and I think it's a little different than that squad that got put out from Vancouver a little while ago. I think they've matured since then. I think that St. Louis, although it's a big, heavy team, is a little bit slower.
Yeah.
And Minnesota is a fast team, and I take speed over size in this one for sure. So it's got to be Minnesota.
Lovely. I'm glad we're seeing eye to eye on some of these. I know we're going to probably butt heads on at least one. Colorado and the Sabertooth Tigers of Nashville.
I got the Preds in this one. Oh. So there's going to be our boy Steve is not going to like us for this one, picking the Preds over.
Are you just doing this to
No, I swear I'm not. But again, this is a goaltending thing, and the speed on the back end of Nashville, I think to me is more valuable than the speed on the front end. And I know that guy Makar is there. Don't get me wrong.
They've got a few others, but yeah.
But this isn't an easy pick, by the way. Like this to me might be the series of the first round of the NHL playoffs.
So this is your series of
and the team that gets through this one could very well make the conference final.
Saros is injured though, isn't he? Isn't he kind of banged up?
Oh, is he? How long is he gone for?
I thought so. Could be wrong.
I might have to reset this pick.
I take everything back. You're right, Ryan. I'm taking Colorado because I'm not an idiot. I'm just saying. I don't see how Colorado is so good, and they have to get it right with this team. They have to get it right at some point. There's too many stars on that team that are all producing the way they need to.
Oh, you're right. Saros injury, tough choice to follow here.
No, you guys stick with it. You gotta eat it. You gotta eat the poop sandwich.
2 games before NHL. So you missed the last 2 games, and what happens? Now it's like Riddick and Ingram.
Big save Dave. Connor Ingram.
Yeah, big save Dave. Well, then it's got to be Colorado if it's not Saros and net.
No, I think you got to stick with what you said. I think this is what punishment looks like. There are no. What am I going to do to tell you not? But yeah, Colorado, I think all the way. I think that one goes 5 games, actually.
It's probably not even close if Saros isn't there. We're talking about a Vezina caliber goaltender not being in net for maybe one of the better teams in the NHL here.
Yeah. Again, Nashville's a pretty good team, but Colorado is the best team. So we've got through those ones, and now we get through the crazy times. Do we want to go to Cowtown or do we want to go to Edmonton? Let's do Calgary. Calgary, Dallas. I think that series has potential to be an absolute bloodfest. I think there is going to be a lot of hate. There's going to be a lot of power plays in that series because I just don't think there's going to be discipline. There will be a lot of goals. I could see this one being like high scoring every game. And I'm going to say, it kills me to say it, but I do believe Calgary is going to win that series. I can't see Dallas beating Calgary.
Yeah, I think Calgary wins this one too. I just think that team is too fast and heavy.
And they have a goaltender that's good.
And they have a goaltender this year. So yeah, to me, this is a Calgary win, no brainer.
Wouldn't that be just the absolute worst that you know what I'm about to say? That they do the Cinderella run this year. They're the Canadian team that makes the Cinderella run. Jacob Markstrom is in net. Chris Tanev is there. Is Toffoli there too?
No.
Where does Toffoli play?
Toffoli went to Montreal, I believe.
Yeah, but Toffoli left.
Oh, no, he went back to Calgary. Sorry, I had it flipped. So he went from Montreal to Calgary. He's there.
So, like...
There's a lot of former Canucks there.
Oh, man. Like, it would hurt. It would hurt.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have Calgary in this one, and to me, it's not even close.
It's not close. It's not. Dallas...
This is a heavy, nasty-ass team that was built for the playoffs.
Good for them. I mean, I think Kachuk Cheese is going to have his way.
Yeah.
And then our favorite, the Edmonton Oilers, play Canucks US version with Troy from Richmond with Alex Edler. But you're against an Edmonton Oilers squad that, well, if they lose, things might get dicey in Edmonton. And just for the chaos alone, I do hope the LA Kings win. I hope that Dustin Brown gets his swan song and Kopitar. And I think they still got Quick back there, don't they?
Yeah, he's still there. He's still hanging around, yeah.
He's hung around for over a decade. So you know what? Go LA. I do hope that you absolutely pummel the Edmonton Oilers because nothing would please me more. If I could somehow find a way to believe Calgary was going to lose, I'd do that too. But we all know that would be a stupid thing to say. So, yes, the LA Kings are going to win, I think, in 6 or 7 games. Screw you.
I have Edmonton in this one.
Okay.
I just think LA is too old, and I think this is like a best player in the world thing, sort of willing this thing. I mean, he just can't be denied at this point from at least advancing one round in the playoffs.
That's why I love this so much because if that happens, like I love chaos, and this is Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and if they can't get past the first round, Ted, that's dangerous.
I look, it would be better for Twitter if LA won.
I don't care about Twitter
because who's ever running the LA Twitter account is just hilarious.
Oh, they'd eat it up.
But I just, I mean, plus you need to hang on to the potential of seeing like a Battle of Alberta series at some point down the road, right? So, and
I would be up for that for sure. That would be great. A second round Battle of Alberta. You couldn't contain it. It'd be great.
So I have Edmonton this one, despite the fact that their goaltending is just an absolute. So I'm just going against everything I'm saying earlier, where I think goaltending is king, but I don't think that LA has superior goaltending either. So it's going to be, this could be the track meet series if we're being completely honest.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're my yin to the yang or something like that.
Yeah, yang
and pink, whatever, something. It's something. I don't know. Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting first round. I didn't. I might have to write these down. It's a lot more fun if we just go off the cuff, and who cares? But that is pretty interesting. The playoffs start. Is it Tuesday? Tomorrow? Tuesday? I don't even know.
I want to say Tuesday.
That seems like a good day to start things. Feels like a good time. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. They are easily the most fun to watch of any sport. The Super Bowl and the run to the Super Bowl is pretty impressive, as it is only a one game at a time, whereas you get multiple crazy nights of hockey for the first month, basically. And what's not to like about that? I would like to say that the Canucks win, but they're not. And we're gonna enjoy all the off-season stuff that the Canucks have to do. This has been an hour. We made it. It was a Sunday. I still got to get a few things done. It's going to be an absolutely crazy week again. We've got ball a few times. I've got a few fun work parties to do. I got to get on the golf course soon. I don't know about you, but I think we need to make that happen at some point soon. And yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I wish we could keep going, but it gets boring after a while. People don't like us that much. They don't. So. Any final words from you, sir? You're on mute. You just decided that you really didn't want any final words.
I think I'm good. I think we've said a lot, so it'll be fun to just kick back and watch the remainder of the season play out.
I agree. One quick thing: we had a family photo shoot tonight, and it's tough to get. It was impromptu. Didn't know it was going to end up being the entire extended family, so that I wasn't even there. I got a text. You need to be here. Why? Everyone's here but you. Oh, okay. Good to know. So 5 minutes away, it's all good. So watching all my nieces get their pictures done with family, and they're tough to stay focused and smile properly. You know how it is getting kids to do, get the proper face, right? So the word that dominated the entire photo shoot was boogers. Apparently, this is still a very funny thing. Boogers, eating boogers, boogers in your stomach, boogers everywhere. Fart didn't really get a rise at all, but boogers, just so you know, boogers is, kids love it. It's still good. It's still good. You're on mute again. You did it again. I don't know how you keep doing this.
Boogers, poop, and pee.
Boogers, poop, and pee. You can't go wrong with it. On behalf of Ted, I'm Ryan. This is the PP1 Podcast. Wow. We just went there also. Brock, Lockwood, and two smoking Burroughs. Boogers, PP, and poop. Have a great evening, folks.